Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks, depending on whatever time frame you guys are based in. I'm based in London, so good afternoon from myself. Before we do anything else, as always, it is important that I know that you guys can hear me well, and also if you guys can see my screen. So if you can hear me and if you can see my screen, please do give me a sound check by saying yes or no, so that I know that you guys are okay. Thank you, Amutha, and Happy New Year to everyone once again. We are in the third week of January. Markets are moving to the downside, and I have a very bad flu. That just down with a normal casual flu, and apologies for the small disruptions. My name is Naeem Azam. For those of you who don't know me, I work as a chief analyst for Evertrade. I come with a wealth of 15 years of trading experience. During this time period, I have worked as a hedge fund trader for Bank of New York Mellon, as an equity trader with Bank of America. On a weekly basis, we conduct our masterclass series in which we cover several different topics such as cryptos, equities, and indices. We cover pretty much every single thing in that, and we take you from basic level for all the beginners, and then we take the conversation to a bit more advanced level. As always, I see a lot of familiar name over here, and thank you for those of you who are consistently attending these webinars, because markets do change. For example, the beginning of this particular year is very different to the beginning of last year or the year before that. Markets are certainly diving, and we are also seeing a good retracement in the Bitcoin space, which is the topic for today. So we will cover everything with respect to Bitcoin, where it is, why it is there, and what are the opportunities. So if that is what you want to do, if that is what you wanted to know, and if you are interested, if apart from Bitcoin, what other good coins are there which you could actually get involved in, then you are certainly tuned into the right channel. Now, before we do that, as always, it is important for me to go through this risk warnings and disclaimer, which is in front of you. If you have any questions in relation to that, please feel free to contact your account managers. Now, our contact details are right in front of you. And if you need anything, you can just contact you can contact your account managers. And in addition to that, I highly recommend you to follow on Twitter and on YouTube. The recording of this webinar will be available on our YouTube channel as well. Now, something that I wanted to share with you guys is Evertrade's unique technology, which is called EverProtect. It is a revolutionary one-click risk management tool available on the Evertrade web trader and the Evertrade Go app. Basically, with EverProtect, you can purchase protection against loss for a defined period, and after, of course, opening a position. Now, if the protection ends and you have an open position that is losing, Evertrade will reimburse the loss directly into the trading account. The only cost is the EverProtect fee itself. Again, if you want to know a bit more about this, I recommend you to contact your account manager. We have dedicated account managers at Evertrade. We'll be happy to give you a bit more information on that. Now, for those of you who have been attending these webinars on a regular basis, some of the first few study questions would be a really good revision. So I want you guys, the ones who are actually attending these webinars on a regular basis, to answer them. And the first question, as always, is what is Bitcoin? What do you guys think when you think of Bitcoin? What comes to your head? What is Bitcoin? Can anyone help to answer this particular study question? Remember, there is nothing as a silly answer or a silly question. We wanted to keep this session as interactive as possible, and throughout because that can bring more flair to this particular session and also gives you more opportunities. So do not hesitate to ask any questions throughout the webinar. So there you go. Amutha has mentioned that Bitcoin is basically a digital currency. That is great. That's a good answer. And how about more input on that one? What is a digital currency? I mean, like, how can it be used? A little bit more information, and then who is it, like, for what kind of clients it is really designed for. So there you go. Another great answer is coming. This is for people, for non-bank people. So basically, what does that mean? Is people who don't have bank accounts, they can have a Bitcoin. You don't need a bank account to have a Bitcoin. All you need is just a digital wallet, and this is and an account with an exchange. Through that, you can buy Bitcoin, and basically, the Bitcoin is a currency for the future, and it is widely accepted around the world now. Yes, there are still certain governments which are trying to ban cryptocurrencies, but in the US, the biggest economy in the world, hasn't really given any strong narrative on that. They are more lenient, and hence we're seeing a large number of US institutes like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, all these major banks getting involved into this one, trying to offer, and actually are offering Bitcoin as an investment to their clients. So that kind of shows the commitment behind that. So, and for disclaimer purposes, I personally own Bitcoin as well. Now, within the Bitcoin space, like, you can use Bitcoin now to to take leverage. So basically, if you have a Bitcoin, there are so many different platforms where you can pledge your Bitcoin and take cash or the fiat currency against that. So basically, you can use that as a deposit, and then they will give you fiat money, because they believe that Bitcoin, and in addition to that, they also believe that Bitcoin price is only likely to continue to soar in the coming future. Now, last year we've seen prices going, substantially higher. The price made a low of 3,800 back in 2020 March when COVID hit, and after that, last year we made a new high of nearly 69,000. And now, many institutes believe that Bitcoin price can easily surpass 100,000 currently, which is trading in around that 42,000 price level. We will discuss all of that in a bit. So does that sort of answer your question? What is a Bitcoin? So again, to summarize, it's a digital currency. It is a currency of the future. It is the future. If you are not involved in Bitcoin, you may want to consider that because, as I said, this is the currency for the future. Now, flash crash, why I do have this particular study question here, it is, what is a flash crash? The reason, what is a flash crash, is basically when the price immediately drops, and so when it looks like that there is no floor to something, right? So when we see this gigantic drop in any of the price, so price is going up, 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 and then all of a sudden we see the massive drop. This is called flash crash. And with respect to Bitcoin, it is known for higher volatility, and higher volatility usually happens when the price usually actually spikes, or when it drops massively. So in either cases, that represents the volatility of an asset. And with Bitcoin, the volatility is actually quite high. That is the general consensus on the market, that Bitcoin is a volatile asset. It tends to move very sharply to the upside, and then it can also drop very sharply to the downside as well. And especially flash crashes have happened with respect to Bitcoin when the price has dropped more than 10% within a matter of few minutes. But also these flash crashes, they do take place with our traditional markets as well, but with respect to Bitcoin, because it is relatively a new asset, and something that is still relatively new because it's been only on the market since 2008, so nearly 13 years old. So with respect to the Dow Jones or the S&P 500 or the US stock market, which is very, very old, and it still suffers from Bitcoin. So that is not unusual for Bitcoin to have flash crashes, but it is known for its volatility, something that you wanted to keep in mind. Now, when was the last time the flash crash really happened in terms of a Bitcoin? We will look at that by looking at the prices. Now, what is moving Bitcoin price is the most important study question that we have over here. Any ideas that you guys have? What is moving Bitcoin price? Okay, great answer. So it's someone is saying that it is pretty much the adoption. So that's very much summarizing everything with that answer, which is like adoption. Like what do we mean by that? Adoption is that how many people are actually believing in Bitcoin and they are ready to buy and sell their services by Bitcoin. That is the adoption. So again, going back to my conversation earlier, given the fact that the Wall Street banks like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, Citibank, BlackRock, all of them are involved in Bitcoin, that shows our adoption. So the more adoption we really have in relation to Bitcoin, the better it is for the Bitcoin price. So remember, because Tesla also said that they started to accept Bitcoin. Now, obviously, Dogecoin is the one where you can buy merchandises, but right now you can't buy Tesla with Bitcoin. They have paused that, they have suspended it for the time being, but it is likely to continue very soon. So that is again part of an adoption, really. So and countries like El Salvador, which is buying Bitcoin as an alternative currency, and in 2022 we are more than likely to see many other countries adopting that particular path as well. So that will all show that adoption that we have discussed. So another great answer, which is coming from Burgett, if I'm pronouncing the name correct, is demand and supply. Yes, Bitcoin price is very much determined by demand and supply. Now, with respect to supply, the supply for Bitcoin is very much limited, right? We know that this is only going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and most of them are actually already mined. Now, with respect to demand, with demand, what is really happening is that how many people are actually trying to buy Bitcoin because they believe that it is very cheap. We see a large number of institutions, a lot of investors, traders, retail investors, smart money, really even family offices coming and buying Bitcoin these days. They're believing in that. And making the process even more easier. So like, you could use your MasterCard, your Visa card to buy Bitcoin. So again, that shows the adoption by these companies who are giving access to retail investors, to the institutional investors, to really kind of buy Bitcoin through that. So again, which represents demand. So the higher the demand, the higher the price. Now, with respect to the supply, that is limited. So the most important factor over here is really going to be the demand element over here. So as long as it continues to rise, we are going to see more increase in terms of the price for Bitcoin. So these are the two important factors. So well done to point that out to Amrita, Burgett, and other who have also talked about the adoption as well. Now, something that we have brought new for this particular topic is like Bitcoin and gold, because a lot of time Bitcoin is very much compared with gold. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Bitcoin is a new digital gold? Andrea is saying that yes, Bitcoin is the new digital gold, and the answer to that is yes, I agree with you that Bitcoin is the new digital store value. It is only increasing with time. So if you look at Bitcoin price back in 2015, 18, 13, 11, or since its invention, it has been only on a one-way street, which is to the upside. Of course, there has been many hiccups, many sell-offs, but over that period for the last 5 years or 2 years or 3 years, Bitcoin price has been increasing. And investors have started to move away from gold, or buying gold, and then they've started to buy Bitcoin, and especially that is true among family offices and institutional money, because they know that with respect to Bitcoin, it is very easy to move, right? Because if you have to carry 3 or 4 tons of gold with you, it's not that easy. Security concerns and the actual physical assets to move is quite difficult. With respect to Bitcoin, no, you don't need tons of things to carry, just your wallet, and which doesn't even need to be on you, and then you can just travel. You can travel anywhere with a large sum of money, depending on the price of Bitcoin. And people do believe that it is a better hedge against inflation as well. And there has been many research studies which kind of say that, okay, Bitcoin is also a safe haven, just like gold, because when investors are feeling less, when they feel like that they don't want to buy riskier assets, they begin to buy a risk of assets, and within the risk of category or a basket, what we have gold and we have Bitcoin. Having said that, more recently, the correlation study, the study which shows that, okay, if the market is going up, where is Bitcoin or gold price is going? So if the market is going up and the price of Bitcoin or gold is also going up, that correlation study is positive, and vice versa. So what this shows is that more recently, when the stock market is going higher, Bitcoin price is also going higher. So this is your stock, and then this is your Bitcoin. So this has really started to bring that theory back, that Bitcoin, yes, it has a status of risk of asset as a safe haven asset, but now more recently, investors have actually started to think Bitcoin as a riskier asset as well, meaning when they feel like that they can take more risk, they buy the stock market, and then they buy Bitcoin as well. And when stock market falls, Bitcoin price begins to fall as well. But that is only on the short term. And remember that this is only in the short term. Over the long term, Bitcoin price is only moving one way, and that is to the upside, at least for now. So, and the correlation study between gold and Bitcoin is also positive as well, meaning both of them are actually moving in the upward direction, not in the downward direction. So that correlation kind of shows a positive as well. So, and we will discuss that all in a lot more detail by looking at the charts. Now, the question is, where is Bitcoin heading, and defining levels? Now, this is where we have to bring our MT4 platform, and we have to discuss that everything from the perspective of the price action and what the price action is really telling us in terms of that. So let me share that screen with you. So what this shows on our screen right now is this is the MT4 platform, and we are looking at the daily chart for Bitcoin, and what it tells us is that Bitcoin price is actually in a very interesting area. What is that interesting area? Let me show that. Give me one sec. Okay, so this area over here. So if I can mark that over here. This is an area of support. What is an area of support? Support is basically an area where you may want to consider to buy, because more than usually when the price comes into that area, we see a massive bounce into the market in the price. Like for example, over here we did see really good, decent bounce. When the market tested this area again, we did see the market moving to the upside, and now we are back into this area. So again, this is an area of support, an area where we wanted to pay attention to, the area where we could potentially see the prices moving to the upside, but it is not guaranteed for the prices to move to the upside. Now, before we continue any further, I wanted to go through a few more technical aspects. This line over here, this one, this is your 50-day simple moving average. This one is your 100-day simple moving average. And this one over here is your 200-day simple moving average. Moving averages are great to determine the trend and the strength of that trend. When the price drops below a 50-day simple moving average, like it did over here, it shows that the prices are more likely to move to the downside. The second thing is when the 50-day simple moving average begins to fall below the 100 or the 200-day simple moving average, it shows that the bears are taking more control of the price. We are more likely to see intensive sell-off, which we did see that. And when the price drops below the 200-day simple moving average as well, now it shows that you've got to be slightly bit more careful in terms of taking your short trades, because now the price is a little bit too oversold, and the distance between the 50-day simple moving average and the current price is something that we need to start paying attention to. So as you can see right now, the distance between them two is not that great, because now the price is pretty much catching up to that. Of course, the price was catching up to the 50-day simple moving average over here as well, as you can see, but the price wasn't able to break above that. But if the price, if they catch up the distance, and if the price breaks above the 50-day simple moving average, that would be your first clue at that stage when this will happen. Let's say that this comes over here and then the price breaks above that. That would be your first clue that this downward trend, which began over here, or actually let's say that over here, is no longer valid, because at that time what is going to happen is the price is going to start to move to the upside. So that would be your first clue. So again, to summarize what we are really discussing over here is that the moving averages are great to determine the strength of the trend and the direction of the trend. When the price moved below the 50-day simple moving average, we knew that the prices are moving to the downside. Now, when the price will move above the 50-day simple moving average, whenever that will happen, that will our initial signal to show that the prices are no longer in a downward trend and they're about to change their direction. And that direction change can happen at any time, really. Why? Because firstly, we are in this area of support by area, which is between 39 to 43,000. What we need to mention, what we need to careful of over here is to the low of this particular candle is very, very important. And in addition to that, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define our area of support a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom of this particular one, because now the price has spent too much time in that area, and then I'm going to move this one a little bit higher like that. So for me, the new area of support is going to be the low of these candles, the close of these candles and the low of this candle. So between 37 to 40 is a really, really good area of support for me. So now by looking at the price, what we see is the price formed first bottom over here, the second bottom over here. Now the question is if it is going to respect this bottom and if it will move to the upside. If the price doesn't break below the low of this one, the chances are we're going to move to the upside. If price breaks below but still respects the low of this one, which is going to be over here, and then again another potential double bottom forming, the chances are we're going to see further move to the upside. However, if the price moves below that, then the chances are that the price is going to shift into this area of support, which is right defined by this particular area. Now, that means that price is going to go to 28,000 to 32,000. Can that happen? Of course, anything can happen in the market. That could certainly happen. Is it likely? I do not think. I think these candles over here represents pretty good and very, very strong support. So right close, open, and the close of these support, we are moving to the upside from this area. We could potentially break the low of this one. But the first, keep an eye on this downward trend line over here. So let me draw that downward trend line to show you guys over here, because that is the one that we have to keep a very, very close eye on, because the moment the price kind of breaks this downward trend line and breaks above that and stays above it, that would be our further confirmation that the price is moving higher. So let's say if the price moves above this downward trend line, right? So what you would do is you would put your stop loss below this one, and then now you will target minimum of this one as your first target. You wouldn't take your full position here, but you would target this one as your first take profit, second take profit, the third take profit should be 100,000 plus. So again, to summarize this particular, where is the opportunity, or what you can do in the market right now is as follow again. So we have a downward trend line, which is right over here. If the price breaks above this downward trend line and it stays above that downward trend line, you can go long, and you can put your stop loss below the low of this candle. Target this one as your first profit taking area. This is your second profit taking area. Now on the other side, if the price breaks and then moves below this downward trend line, watch the low of this one. Okay, we could see a double bottom forming between first bottom and second bottom. If it doesn't, we could see another bottom, double bottom forming over here, because we have one bottom over here. So watch these two bottoms very, very closely forming. And when they do, place your stop losses below the low, whatever that low would be, and then target this area. And more importantly, keep an eye on this 50-day simple moving average and the price, because this is about to catch up. The distance between them is going to be narrowed very, very soon. RSI is already confirming that the downward momentum is shifting out. We are likely to move to the upside. So go over again on the YouTube, because the recording will be available there to view that. And then if you have any questions, feel free to go on to my Twitter, which is NaeemAslam23, and ask me any questions that you may have in relation to this webinar, and I'd be happy to come back to you guys. That's all for today. Thank you so much for attending our webinar as always, and I wish you guys good luck, and see you guys next time, same place, same time. Thank you.